Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is George. Um, I'll be doing a YouTube video on a quick lab session, resource monitoring. Okay, so I'm a mentor on the grads program for 2020. Okay, so I would be walking us through this session. Let's begin. Okay, first off, we just right click on this button and open it in a new. Okay, so we'll give it a few minutes, let it come up. Okay, so you sign in with your Pluralsight email credentials, the one associated with the grads program. Okay, all right, so of course we will look at the overview and then check the objectives. We'll be monitoring some VM instances and creating uptime checks and creating alerts for those resources. Okay, so this lab will have a total of 10 scores, and as you walk through the lab, if you have any issues with any of the steps, you simply come here and click on the blue button, and a pop-up window would represent any errors that you might be having, so that you can use that to troubleshoot. Okay, so let's start the lab by clicking here. Let's identify ourselves as humans, and then click here. All right, do that once more. Traffic lights, I think this should be it, I believe. All right, so let's go to the first task, and of course, like every other time, we need to use the credentials that have been provided by Quick Labs to sign in into the lab session. So we will be given three computing instances as outlined here. Let me check our zoom level. Okay, we're zoomed in correctly. Okay, so let's go to task 1. All right, so we'll create a monitoring workspace, a Stackdriver workspace, and then we go on to create custom dashboards. Okay, so before we sign in, let's take on the first question, or do we sign in? Let's sign in first, and while that is our workspace is getting set up, we'll actually come back and attend to that question. So let's put in the email here we just copied. Let's give it a moment. Okay, so then we take in the password also from here and place that here. Okay, we accept this. And then confirm that we don't need to update the email because this email doesn't belong to us. It's temporary, and after the session it will be destroyed. If at any point you are asked to put in your phone details, then obviously you've done something wrong. I advise you just stop the session, the lab session, and start all over again. And of course, if you have exceeded your quota, just simply come here, click on this button here, fill in your information, and of course begin the chat to talk with the support, and they should be able to fix that for you. Okay, so let's set terms of service. Okay, so let's go down to monitoring. Let's click and let's go to overview of monitoring. Let that be setting up while we come back and attend to this question. Okay, so why is monitoring important to Google? The first option says Google uses monitoring to ensure they have all the important metrics for reporting purposes to customers. Well, in this case, Google doesn't report your doesn't send reports for your own resources. You have to do that yourself. And then monitoring is important to ensure that Google complies with regulatory requirements defined by both government security bodies. Well, there are no regulations that I'm aware of that requires that monitoring should be set up. It is purely up to you who owns the resources to do that. The last option says it is at the base of site reliability, which incorporates aspects of software engineering and applies that to operations whose goals are to create ultra scalable and highly reliable software systems. So I would think that would be the answer. Let's check to be sure. Okay, so we're correct on that one. Okay, so we've started the first task of creating the dashboard, the workspace. And then after that, we'll be creating a dashboard called my dashboard. So let me just copy this one. Let me copy this name. Okay. Okay, let's copy that one. After we create this dashboard, we'll add a chat and then take it from there. Let's see how far okay, so that's been set up. Let's go to dashboard area. Okay, let me remove this. Let's create a dashboard. Give it a name, my dashboard, confirm the creation, and then create a chat. Let's see the details of that chat. The chat, give your chat a name, find a resource type and metric, select GCEVM instance for resource type. For metrics, we either pick CPU utilization or network traffic, and then we'll click on filter and explore the other options that are available, and then click on all view options to see what view options are available for our chats. Okay, so we've done the dashboard. Let's create a chat. The chat, you can put any name in the chat. So let me say compute instance chat. Okay, all right, so let's create a resource type of instance and metric of utilization. Okay, let's click on the filter. So on the filter, there's several things we can use to filter our chats. We have project ID, we have instance ID, we have the zone. Then under metric label, we have instance name, and of course filtering using user metadata labels. We have good DM, we have name, and for system labels we have states, cloud, account, name also, and even the region. So these are the options for resource label, of course, project ID, instance ID, zone, and filter by metric label. We have all this. So these are filters that are available to us. Let's see the view options. Let me pick on the X-ray mode. Okay, change that to outlier mode. Alright, so we go back to our default color mode. Alright, so let's see what else we're supposed to do. We click on save. So let's save that chart. Alright, so that's the chart there. Alright, so we click on the metrics explorer and then repeat the process we just carried out when creating this chart. So let's get to the metrics explorer. Now the metrics explorer is important, or is used in the sense that you use that to create temporary charts and see what will be displayed in the chart you create. And then of course, if you like what you see, then you can of course save the chart here. So let's begin. Let's click in here. Let's create a VM instance. Let's take the same CPU usage, and of course, if we like what we see, we can save this chart. Okay, but in this case we're not saving the charts, we're just trying to see how to use the metrics explorer. All right, so let's take on this third task, and of course, let's try out these questions here. So, what is not a recommended best practice for alerts? Customize your alerts to the audience needs. I think that would be a recommended practice. Report all noise to ensure all data points are presented. I don't think it's everything we need to report on. So let me select that one, and hopefully it should be part of the answer, the right option. Configure alerting on symptoms and not necessarily causes. Of course, symptoms is what you should be targeting and not the cause. The symptoms will lead you to investigate further to find out what the causes might be or are. Use multiple notification channels so you avoid a single point of failure. I would think so. Okay, so let's check that out. Okay, so we're good to go. So let's create an alert policy with the name tests, and of course add condition and find resource type this, and then select the metric, CPU usage or CPU utilization, and then for condition select above, and then put in a threshold of 20 for 1 minute and click add. Okay, so let's go up. Let's create an alert. Let's click on alert, and then let's create an alert policy called test. Let's add a condition. Okay, VM. You would notice that the UI is quite different from what is seen in the video. But don't be startled by that. Just take your time to look at the appearance of the UI. Things are a bit different, but they still do the same thing. So we add that one. Then we're told to add another condition. This time we use CPU utilization, and then we add that. Okay, so we have to condition. Okay, we must have a threshold. So let's go down. Let's put a threshold. It is required. So we put that. Let's go back up here. Okay, so it said add a second condition. Policy triggers. For triggers, we triggers when click all conditions are met, and then we add a notification channel, and we select email for the notification channel type and add that one, and we skip documentation step. Okay, so let's click on this to add a condition. Oh no, sorry, not a condition, we've done that already. Let's pick which one. So we're saying if all of this are met, then we should trigger the alert. Okay, so let's pick a notification channel. Okay, so in the video you see the notification pop-up box will come up, and then you pick email, but in this case a new tab is opened, and then all the channels that are available to you will be presented to you. Okay, so let's give that a moment to come into play. Okay, so while that is getting ready, we'll look at the next step, of course, just to save it. And then task 4 is to create a resource group, and then set up the resource group using the criteria, type name, and of course you will see some differences also in creating that resource group. Okay, so just give it a moment. Okay, this is taking longer than expected. Okay, so let's see the channels that are available to us, notification types of notification channels that are available to us. We have page duty services, page duty sync, mobile devices, Slack, webhooks, emails, SMS, cloud pub sub. Okay, all right, so we're picking email. We're taking email, and we are told to enter the email of the lab we're currently undergoing. So in this case, we're supposed to put a name for the email display name, so I would still put that, but I'll get rid of this one. Okay, so in the video tutorials you don't have this option. It's not the way it is, but of course put any name you like. So that's been created. Let's go back here. Okay, so that's been done. Click next, and then of course the alert policy name is test. Skip the documentation. So you see we have two areas. First of all, you could give each of your chats that would help to create the alert or trigger the alert. Give it a name you like. Then the test, that is name that is given to us, would be entered here. So let's save that. Okay, so let's go back up and click here to see our progress. Okay, so we've done that one. Now we create a resource group, and the name of the resource group is VM instance. So let's go back here. Let's go to groups. Okay, all right, so let's create a resource group, and of course enter the name. That's that. Now let's look at the options that are available to us. So we have type name, where the name of course could contain or does not contain, or equals or does not equal, starts with or ends with. Let's see the other options that are available to us. We have resource type. Okay, so let's pick resource of VM, and of course the resources that will be affected will be shown to you here. Let me zoom in a bit. I think we need to zoom in a bit there. Okay, so whenever you enter a criteria for when creating a group, a resource group, you need to check here to see which resources are actually affected by the criteria you added. It helps you to check to be sure you are hitting the right resources that you wish to add to the group. Okay, so resource type, we have tags, we have security groups, and security groups, it has to do with firewall rules. Okay, so let's see what are options. We have cloud project, we have region. You could use this to target regions where your resources are situated. In this case, I think it's US Central. Let's see what will happen when we change this. AWS, no. Let's go down a bit. Okay, so let's see what happens. All right, so we're still hitting that one. So but in this case we are using a name, and the name should contain the word Nginx. Let's see, of course. Okay, so now we click on done. You could add another criteria if you wanted, but we're not going to do that, so click create. Okay, so review the dashboard cloud monitoring created for your group. Okay, review the dashboard cloud monitoring created for your group. Let's see that. All right, so this is the dashboard created for our groups. Let's see. Okay, so these 3 instances are affected, and these are the various metrics that we are monitoring. Okay, bytes sent, disk read bytes, received bytes, CPU utilization. Okay, you can actually create subgroups from the groups you just created, and of course use it to check your incidences. So for now we have nothing. Let's go up, and then what is the next thing we should do? We are supposed to check, let's try out this question. So select all valid targets for cloud monitoring uptime alerts. Of course, if we go back here, you would see the options that are available. Okay, so cloud pops up, Campfire, these are third party, application SMS, email, webhooks, Slack, third party, pager due to sync, pager due to services and mobile devices via cloud mobile app. Okay, so let's look at the options presented. We have third party services, we have webhooks. I didn't see any EC2 service. I saw SMS, I saw email, and I saw pops up. So if we click on this, okay, so that's good to go. Okay, so now we'll click on Uptime Checks. Let's create Uptime Checks. Okay, so we'll click on that one. Give the Uptime check any name, and the type should be HTTP. Of course, there are two other types, HTTPS and TCP. And the resource type where we'll be creating an uptime check for instance compute engine instances, and of course in this case we're applying to a group. Okay, so and then we select a group and we'll check create an uptime check of with a 1 minute interval. Okay, so let's go here, let's click on create uptime check, give it any name you like. So I say instance uptime check. Okay, next pick HTTP. Of course the resource type include the URL, app engine application instance, and elastic load balancer. Okay, this is AWS. Okay, so we're picking instance, and of course in this case we're doing groups, so let's pick the group from here. Of course we would have put in a path if we wanted to, but we're not doing that. And then the frequency of the checks is 1 minute. Click on this, and response validation. Let's see what else. Click save, and if the save button is grayed out, you might have to refresh the page. Click no thanks. Or in the video you will see that you're given an option to create an uptime to create an alert, but we will not be doing that here. So response validation, response timeout is 10. So when we get to the alert part, we will not be creating the alert in this instance, so just click on this to prevent that from being created. And then of course let's test out our uptime check and see if it's working. It's working, so we create that. Okay, so let's check our progress and see where we are. Okay, and then of course we review. So let's go back here and wait a bit to have all these buttons either give us green check or give us the red failure indicator. So you just need to refresh the page, give it a minute or two so that the resource will be checked, and then the results will be presented to us. Okay, let's refresh it one more time. Of course we can close this one. Let's just wait a bit so that we get the kind of okay, get kind of result we want. So one suggested alert. Okay, so no alerting policies were created. That wasn't part of what we should be created. But of course we have an alerting policy we did create here, and of course if any gets fired we will see that. Okay, so let's go back to Uptime Checks and wait for it to register to check our VM instances and tell us if they're in order or not. Okay, let's refresh this one more time. Just need to be patient a bit. See your uptime check does its work. All right, so all regions are in order, so that's what we expect. Of course, if we click on the uptime check, all right, so uptime 100%, uptime latency 165 milliseconds, and all the regions, check IDs, and every other thing is in order. All right, so you can actually close this now. So let's click on this, close that. Of course, let's click on this to end our lab. Always remember to do that so that you don't have issues. Leave a review, and then comment if you want to. So that ends our lab for today. Thank you for watching, and please leave your likes. Bye bye.